Hello and welcome. Joseph here. I'm with Ojama Party's Market Watch, and I'm just going to discuss some of the cards that have gone up and down in price across the last few weeks. Obviously, with Justice Hunters coming out, you've had a whole load of cards hit the market, and all the prices have sort of gone wild. So let's just get into it here. So with Azuna, the Starlight Rare. It's obviously fallen in value from its initial price there. The same thing's actually happened for all versions of the Azuna, so you can see the collector rare's gone down, but it also had a wee uptick as well. I think that's partly due to the fact that the Ultra fell so much as well. And I feel like people are looking at the Ultra being like, well, I could just get the collector for about the same value and maybe it'll hold a wee bit better. So that's people's maybe thoughts there about the collector rare Azuna. But obviously all the K9 Azunas have sort of fallen and sort of kept falling. If you haven't yet picked up the Azuna, I'd say hold off, especially if you're looking to get the sort of cheaper version there at the ultra rare slot. If you're looking to get the cheaper ultra rare Azuna, I just hold off to see if the price will dip a wee bit lower. It could maybe even fall to something as low as like 25 euros here, and then we could see what the price will sort of be after that. So those are the K9 cards. The Draco Teal cards have actually done surprisingly well. A lot of people said third best deck out of the dual set. Like, of course, they're all relatively good, but some cards have to be the worst cards in the set. So all the Draco Teal cards came out and everybody undervalued them quite a bit. And obviously they've done reasonably well. They got, they've made, I think 3 of them made it to Top Cut at the Vancouver YCS, 3 different versions as well. More people will try Draco Teal, and especially with Yummy being so good, and the Draco Teal versus Yummy matchup, Draco Teal is meant to be favoured in that matchup, so that might help the Draco Teal representation, especially if more people are playing Yummy, broaden out the format a wee bit more. Less people purely on the Vanquish Soul K9 deck opens up the format a wee bit more, allowing for Draco Teal and Yummy to fight a wee bit more for those second and third spots, to just sort of open up the format so it's not as mono one deck. It's a bit more of a sort of diverse pie wheel in the sense that not as much of the total pie wheel is taken up by one soul deck. So those are different copies of High Mana. Obviously all 3 of them have actually gone up. A lot of sales for the ultra rare, that's sort of a long big string of confidence there for that. So lots of the Draco Teal cards are sort of going up. Let's talk about Altherion. This is obviously a 3 of. I think what ends up happening though is sometimes whenever people look at extra deck cards, they're like, oh, they're all 1-ofs. So the values for them start quite low actually, because people are like, oh, it's a 1-of. You don't actually need that many of them. If people were looking ahead to the OCG, whenever this set was sort of released, people sort of figured out, oh, you have to play 3 of this card. It's so good. Because you cycle through multiples of them in the extra deck, kind of reminding people who have played sort of Salamangreat. You play 3 Wolf, you play 3 Altherion, and Draco Teal kind of is a bit of the Salamangreat aspect, a little bit, with the sort of recursion and the sort of grindy control with traps and stuff. It feels a wee bit like a fusion Salamangreat deck. But yeah, Altherion's gone up for all of its versions. Just the Starlight here we're looking at. It's gone up. It's sort of dipping down a wee bit. Maybe it peaked a little bit too high too quickly. But let's talk about Draco Teal Malulu and then also Draco Teal Rahu. So these 2 cards are interesting in the sense that they're both the collector rare max rarity out of the side set. So Malulu and Rahu Draco Teal. Both of these are the collector rare max rarity, and you should be looking whenever you see the full set list and you've got the rarity distribution in front of you and what rarities for what cards. You should be looking at what is the max rarity and what's the max rarity for this card, and is it the collector rare? Because if the max rarity is the collector rare, oftentimes people will sort of like pick out the different starlights and stuff they want. Or even just go pure bottom. I'm just always going to buy the bottom of the barrel. That's not necessarily always the best thing to do, especially if you're looking to get sort of maximum value. Because obviously these collector rares are valued by people, and if you can find that people are sort of undervaluing the collector rare, like if it's 1 or 2 euros in difference between an ultra and a collector rare, the collector rare is harder to pull. Obviously you should be sort of buying the collector rare at that point. It's smart to look at all the prices and make sure that there's a reasonable difference between the prices, because that's represented in the pull rates of the cards. And then specifically with the Rahu Draco Teal, it's obviously only got a super, so maybe people are more inclined to want to bump it up to a collector rare. Okay, let's move on to King of the Swamp. So obviously King of the Swamp is another collector rare. Different versions of Dracoteal will be using King of the Swamp. I don't know that it's actually that common. I know Cartesia is also used. I think the list that Jesse Cotton top with used Cartesia and not King of the Swamp, but a lot of people have been playing King of the Swamp to try and get access to Dragoon and a whole load of different fusions. Tyrant Dragon, I think, is another one that can like recycle the traps. So obviously with the collector rare being the I suppose it's actually the second highest rarity because it does have this sort of like old super from some tournament pack years ago that's, I don't know, probably hundreds. This is functionally the max rarity that most people can sort of afford reasonably, and it's also got the added benefit of it matches a bunch of the other rarities of the cards. And if you opened a bunch of Justice Hunters and were interested in Dracoteal and you pulled the King of the Swamp collector rare, it probably we were like, oh, I'll maybe try and see if I can make the King of the Swamp version of the deck work. And then I also get access to Dragoon and all this sort of stuff. A bit more sort of casual bait, I think the Dragoon is. It's not as competitive, I don't think, because there's so many counters to it. It's not as strong as it used to be. Yeah. So then let's move on here. So we've got different yummy cards. I'm just looking at sort of the max rarity at the moment. But this max rarity for all the yummy cards seems to just be like so-so. Like they're all sort of flatlining, even trending down a little bit, specifically for the Lolly. All the rest of them are sort of about the same, what you'd sort of expect, but Lolly specifically is trending down because I think after Doom of Dimensions, when the Marshmallow support card comes out, it just tends to it's played at 1, right? So if the card's played at 1, if you have 3 versions of it, you'll list the other 2. There's no point you holding on to just a play set just to have. So the 20th of August, that's when the Battles of Legends set comes out. So the release date for Monster Mayhem in Europe. The reason why this obviously got pushed back, Konami did their whole oopsie, but no, we're finally going to get this in August. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because there's relevant cards in Monster Mayhem. So specifically Magistus and the DDD cards. I feel like Gem Knight and Orc, they've maybe missed their mark. So the idea is that this had come out at drop. We could have played this at Euros. It would have been cool. But because that didn't happen, I feel like those decks are maybe even just sort of annoyingly sort of cycled out, park crept out. But specifically the Magistus cards and the DDD cards, with the new support that's coming in for them, I feel like they'll become more relevant. And my hunch is that Spoon will come out in the tins. So I think the Magistus Spoon, the support card for the OCG, it's going to come out in the tins. So here we have one of the fusions. That's the Magistus fusion. It has 1 print from Genesis Impact. And yeah, no, so we've got the 1 print of this card. I think you just pick it up. If you're anyway interested in the Magistus Dracoteal deck, I feel like this is a card that you just want to pick up right away. It's just a card that it's a no-brainer. It's so cheap that you might as well just pick up a couple of copies. It's played as a one-of in the different OCG lists. If you look on Road to the King, you'll see that. And then you have Zoro. This came out as an OTS common, but if you're interested in the ultra rare, it's probably like a reasonable time to pick it up. Like I know it spiked earlier there. You can sort of see on the chart. It had a number of different spikes or whatever. But with the Battles of Legend thing, everyone forgot about it. People are like forgetting Magistus exists. They're trying all the different builds of Dracoteal. They're trying the Dragon Maid one, they're trying the branded one, they're trying the Shadol one, and then everyone was like, oh, it's actually hand traps, and play Jesse Cotton's version. I feel like the Magistus list, specifically, if a number of things happen, it actually might end up being the best versions. One of the strengths it has over in the OCG is obviously it can play Borload Savage. No, we don't have that card over here at the moment. It's currently banned. But with the new Rocket core set coming out, I could see them actually peeling Savage off preemptively just to sort of see, well, does it do anything crazy? Can it come out? And then we include the Rocket support, and then the Savage helps you promote the Rocket cards whenever they come out in that new core set. So if the Savage does peel off, and if we get the Spoon in the tins, all these sort of things I sort of expect to happen just because it seems to make sense. Like, they're going to have to print Spoon eventually. What else are they going to put it in other than the tins? They're probably not going to wait a whole other year to put it in the next Battles of Legends, so it probably comes out in the tins. And then with Savage coming off, I feel like it just helps promote the set. Like, they've sort of done this sort of thing in the past where they'll pull a couple of cards off that are for an archetype that they've done a reprint for if they have anything banned. So I feel like that's stuff that could happen. and isn't really that far-fetched. So here we have Typhon. I'm just going to go over a couple of cards here. So it's Typhon and Little Knight. So specifically, like, Typhon was used a lot in the in YCS Vancouver. A whole bunch of extra decks had it. It's just a lot of times people see it as a concede button. So like you'll play Typhon and still lose the game. But the logic goes something like, you were already losing that game. Typhon maybe gives you a chance to win the game, and maybe 1 out of 20 games you would have lost. And you had an opportunity to go into a Typhon, you go into it and you win that game. That's a sort of variance that'll allow you to sort of make it into Top Cut, this kind of thing. It gives you extra chances, and especially in a super hand trap heavy format. So specifically with decks like Yummy, Draco Tail playing lots of hand traps, similar to sort of the Triff and Jessica lists. These lists that played lots and lots of hand traps, they'd want to play a Typhon, because it's similar to how in Snake Eyes you play loads of hand traps, so you play the Typhon control. Because neither you're letting either player combo, so then you just want to summon the big beater to punch into them. So that's the idea behind Typhon, and I think it's just one of those things where it's like, it's had its rarity collection. They're probably not going to do it again, and I just see the creep. Every single high rarity collectors, prismatic, secret rare, the 25th or Starlight or whatever, all these versions will just trickle up a wee bit. They'll just, and slowly over time, it'll become a case where it's like, oh, all the high rarity versions of Typhon are just expensive, and maybe it gets a common in a structure deck or something like that. But if you wanted the sort of nicer versions, you should maybe get them now while you sort of have the chance. And the same thing's true for SP Little Knight. I think all the cheap versions, like, what is it? I think 30 out of the 32 decks in the Top Cut played SP Little Knight. It's like the most played extra deck card, and you kind of have to almost try to build a deck that doesn't need it. I think like even stun decks would play it. Like, there's just no reason not to play this card. It's so strong. Another option here for Draco Tail, the Performapal 5 Rainbow Magician. So this card's really interesting. It turns your spellcaster Draco Tails into an interrupt if this is in the grave. So the scenario goes something like, this is in the graveyard and you've performed a fusion summon, or maybe, it's in the graveyard, used as a fusion summon. You activate, let's say, you have like a 5 mana in the grave, it's used as part of a fusion summon on your opponent's turn, and you fuse it and a bunch of other cards, and then you can trigger its graveyard effect to set a spell trap. When you do, your 5 Rainbow Magician can trigger. Yes, the graveyard effect is, if either player sets a spell trap while this card's in the graveyard, you can place it in your pendulum skill, and then the pendulum effect will activate, where your opponent essentially has to have a number of set spells and traps. And if you're either playing Draco Tail or some other deck that wants to play this card, it's primarily Draco Tail this is played for. Your goal is essentially, they will have 1, maybe 2 spell cards, and if you can force them to set it and you can pop it and then pop the next one, you're in a really strong position, because now you've just sort of removed those 2 spells. They can't activate any monster effect. You're in a really strong position, and this card can keep coming back. So as long as they don't banish it, if it goes from the pendulum scale, let's say they destroy it, goes to the extra deck, or if they're able to put it in the grave somehow, it's just going to keep cycling back to the pendulum scale if you're able to get it into the graveyard. So it's just this really nice cycle. I think this card is really strong. So this card went up because of Killer Tune. To be honest, if you have this card in your bulk, fish it out, get your £25, get your €10, whatever you're going to get for it. I know it has a secret and a common. I'd probably just list them, to be honest. And if you're looking to pick up cards for Killer Tune, if you didn't happen to get this before the buyout, I would say look around different wee websites and see if you can find it. If not, it's just one of those cards that you're like, right, okay, they'll hopefully reprint it before I need it. Hopefully it's not another C104 situation, but at least it does have this sort of common print. So what I can imagine happening is, it's an old common, there are a lot of it out there. Once people realize that this card is expensive and gone up to the moon, probably don't buy it right now, just wait. It'll probably settle to maybe €4 and something like that, and then you can sort of pick it up for a reasonable price. But yeah, no, I think it'll definitely fall. So here I want to talk about the Dominus cards. I think specifically Impulse. Of course you've got the Purge as well, but I think specifically Impulse. Impulse is interesting in the sense that it's played in the DDD deck. and other dark decks as well, of course. Played in Malice, and then Pure Mitsurugi, and a whole bunch of other decks. But I think specifically Dominus Impulse, it's one of those ones where it's like, if you don't have it, I'd be waiting until maybe a week after the tins, maybe a couple of days after the tins, check in on the price, see if it's something you're happy with. If maybe it falls to, maybe here it falls to about like 20, 18, 19, 16 euros, something like that, I'd be picking it up. But I'd be waiting until the tin drops, the tins get listed, people start listing the cards, and then I'd be picking up my Dominus Impulse, just because it's one of those staple cards that after it gets a tin reprint, it's still a good card, but of course you want to sort of pick it up while it's the cheapest, especially if you're not going to any events, and well, Europe doesn't get any events, so we've lots of time to wait. Dominus Purge, I definitely sell this one now, if you have it. Unlike sort of Impulse, it's one of those ones where it's sort of like, it has just gone up a wee bit, especially with the Yummy deck coming out, and all the sort of hype around it. It's like, if you have a play set of this, sell it with a couple of Yummy cards, you can maybe move it pretty quick. But yeah, no, I definitely think get rid of the Dominus cards, and if you don't have them, just sort of wait until maybe a couple of days after, a week after the tins, see where they fall on, and then maybe pick them up there if you're interested. Peri Rise Map, just a nice upgrade. If you've got the Yummy deck, or you're looking to play it in the future, especially when the Marshmallow card comes out, I've seen a load of different lists in the OCG playing this card, and this seems to be the highest rarity print that I could find. Nice secret rare. Metal Turnus, similar to Typhon and SP Little Knight. Let's just pick up nice versions of staple sort of cards from the rarity collection. I can't imagine, like, unless we see them double dipping again, but you know, you're not putting in a huge amount of money on these cards. So this is another one, Platinum Gadget. I saw a list in the OCG. Was it K9 Vanquish Soul was playing this? It's obviously only got one print, printed in dual power. Yeah, no, I genuinely think cards like this, where it's sort of like a random Link 2, it reminds me of, what was it, the set that had Verte, Hulk, all the broken Link 2s that are now like banned. It's just another one of those broken Link 2s. People just haven't broken it with machines yet. But no, Platinum Gadget's definitely a strong card, and if you're playing K9, I'd definitely be looking at those, or K9 Crystron specifically, the Crystron version of K9. I'd be looking at those OCG lists, seeing what they're doing with Platinum Gadget, and maybe picking it up if you're interested. Blackout Laughs. I think I told everyone to sell this one on the last Market Watch. I still think it's a sell card. The tins have it as a reprint, but it is just a very flexible card. It would definitely be sell now, but you know, your week after the tins have dropped, it's a buy card, because it's a card that you're like, oh cool, I hope the price fell enough to make it a card that I'd want to pick up. Songs of the Dominators, obviously sort of not quite rocketed to the moon, but with more and more Dominus cards getting printed, it just sort of keeps trickling up. And specifically in sort of the Yummy Breaker deck. Now I know it didn't actually do that well. I think there was a couple of Yummy decks that topped with it. It's interesting, it seems really sort of exploitable in sort of big tournament, but if you went to like a small regional and you're playing a bunch of the sort of Breaker Yummy list with all the songs and Purge, and you've got your Imperms and whatever, you probably have enough unique Dominus cards to whereby you're not really super conflicted. No, I definitely think this card's really, really good, and just will continue to get better in the future. It's just one of those cards where it's like, hold it long enough, hopefully you see play with it, and if you've played the card or played the deck a bunch, or if you've got decent play out of the card, then sort of sell it before the next tin wave comes around. I would be shocked if it's in this year's tins. It's sort of too close with Alliance Insight coming out as a more recent set, but it is one of the cards in Alliance Insight. Like, the set has to have some level of value, and with specifically all the other secret rares kind of tanking to nothing, this is the one that's the most value out of that set, it seems. Yeah, Gordian Slicer is another one out of Alliance Insight. It's kind of sort of just bumbled along. I think it just needs a deck that it fits in. It's kind of the problem. I thought Pure Mitsu makes sense for this card. Just get rid of this card. This card is like silly money. It's not even played in all the Vanquish Soul K9 decks. There's like a list that you can top without this card. Why would you be putting like a weird 40 card in your deck that's like a super rare, it's like at least get the ulti. The ulti's like what, 60 quid or like 20 quid more. So like get the ulti so that you have a bit more insurance to be like, oh, if it gets reprinted as a rare or a super or a secret, like it'll get reprinted as a secret. The secret will be worth like £10. The same thing that happened to sort of Paradise Smashers, I can see happening to this card. It's like I could even see them putting it in like the Megatins or something. Maybe it'll get hit in a rarity collection or something. They'll do like all the C numbers in the rarity collection, and then this card just gets nuked. Yeah. And then Pot of Extravagance. It's played in the correct version of Vanquish Soul, the one that plays the pot cards. I sort of don't think the other one's real, in the sense that like you need the extra consistency, otherwise you'd be bricking. But yeah, the Pot of Extravagance seems to be like the right kind of consistency add-on to that deck. It's like Pot of Extravagance and then also Pot of Prosperity. This is the highest rarity version of this card. So yeah, makes sense that it's gone up. I wouldn't be touching Blazing Cartesia purely just because the Duel Chronicles coming out in October, and it'll definitely have this card in it as probably some sort of weird additional fancy alt art rarity or whatever. No, just don't touch this. Like if you need it for the Draco Teal deck, you can pick up like maybe one of the cheaper copies, but it's just one of those things where it's like I think all the cheaper ones also all spiked up or whatever just because it did well with that specific variant. But I wouldn't necessarily be picking up Blazing Cartesia right away. And if you are, try to sort of pick up one of the cheaper versions, or sort of maybe min-max it, sort of go for a middling version that you're like hopefully will hold a wee bit more value when it gets the reprint in the Chronicles Alba structure deck. Okay, so some DDD cards. In Europe, we can't be picking up the ones from Monster Mayhem. There are 2 in Monster Mayhem you need to pick up or whatever, but we can talk more about that come closer to the time. So Marksman King Tell, I'd be picking this up if you're interested in the DDD stuff, and then also the Super Griffin. Super Griffin is like you pick this up purely just because it's the super, and the other versions are common. So if you want to get the nicer version, you just get the Griffin. It's not worth anything at the moment, and if DDD does well, I can see the super going up in value. Tail is kind of a weird one. It's like I really hope this gets reprinted, but I don't know what on earth they'll put it in. Maybe a common in an OTS pack, but if you're wanting to play DDD and you need access to the card, this is one that unfortunately you're going to have to pick up if you want to have access. Ahead of waiting for Konami to get like OTS packs right or whatever. Like it could be a situation where DDD is good, you need King Tail to play it in the deck, and then the current OTS pack doesn't have it, and then DDD sort of falls off a wee bit, and then it's in the next OTS pack. They sort of do that a bit. So that's been the Market Watch. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.